I had a call with a guy this week with three exits under his belt. He built and sold three agencies in 7 years. This guy knows the market inside out. And he got on a call with me to ask me about how M&A actually works. What I told him isn't rocket science, it's basic. So I'm going to tell you the same thing because most of what people say or write about selling an agency is absolute bollocks, and the truth is much simpler, surprisingly simple. Quick context: I run Capital A Group. We sell marketing, creative, and cultural agencies, mostly to strategic buyers and private equity. And I've been doing this for about 8 years. We don't compete with the rest of the market. We create our own market. We've spent the better part of a decade building the largest proprietary database of agencies and buyers in this space, and we go directly to them. Most M&A firms wait for the phone to ring. We make the phone ring on both sides of the deal. In that time, we bought and sold roughly 100 businesses. So when I tell you what works and what doesn't, it's not from frameworks that I made up for a LinkedIn post last week. So let's get into it. Truth one: multiples are boring. Everyone wants to know what their agency is worth, and that's fine. Here are the actual numbers. Most marketing agencies, they sell somewhere between 3 and 5 times EBITDA. That's the base rate. That includes most small agencies. You can add halves and ones onto that multiple based on size, length of contracts, quality of management, vertical you're in, but very rarely does anything get above 7 times multiple. Private equity will pay around 7 or 8 times for a platform deal, which means you need to be doing over 3 million in EBITDA. And obviously, the bigger then you get in EBITDA up to double digits, the multiples go up and up and up. When these private equity agencies buy, they then buy add-ons and bolt-ons at 3 to 5x because they're looking to exit 8, 9, or 10 times multiple. And so they are doing a classic multiple arbitrage strategy. So two things will push you above 10x. The first is size. So a 10 million EBITDA agency group is a 10x business almost by default because at that scale, you're a strategic asset, not a lifestyle business. The second is recurring revenue. Anything else, you're probably not going to get double digits if you are at the lower end of the market. Small agencies, they're just not this valuable. They just aren't. So when someone on LinkedIn tells you they're going to get you a 12x for your three-person creative shop, they're lying to you, or they're lying to themselves, and they're just desperate for the work. But either way, don't pay them. Truth number two: some verticals are just worth more. Not all agencies are equal. The market doesn't care about your craft, your awards, how clever your strategy decks are. The market cares about scarcity and growth. Anything around marketing data, the ability to collect it, measure it, attribute it, that's coveted. Measurement goes for more more multiples. Influencer marketing is another great vertical to be in right now. We sold one to Stagwell for a phenomenal double digit amount. There was a small part of SaaS in that, but really it was down to the quality of the influencer agency that we sold. They were just excited about the entire business. Performance marketing, another great category, always sells well because everybody wants a performance marketing agency. Buyers want predictable revenue attached to predictable outcomes. If you're early in your agency journey and you're picking a lane, pick one that the market actually wants to buy. Now, truth number three: how deals actually get done. A lot of M&A advisors network with brokers. They sit at conferences, they go to dinners, they swap deals, but that is how you waste 2 years of your life trying to compete for a deal that is in everybody else's inbox. Brokers are not how buyers should be spending their time networking. What actually works is going directly out to the agencies that match a specific buyer's thesis and bringing those agencies to the table and getting them into a deal. These off-market opportunities, that's where the value is. So if you're a buyer, the deals worth doing are the ones that nobody else is looking at. If you're a seller, you want the opposite. You want multiple buyers at the table because competition is what's getting you the right price. So if a single off-market approach lands in your inbox, fine, take the call. But you better make sure it's a serious buyer and you'd better have other conversations running in parallel. If you don't, one buyer is not a process, one buyer is a mugging. So if you do have a buyer and you're not sure about your pricing and they're running the whole conversation, you best go and find yourself a broker and try and bring in more buyers to the table. What we do at Capital A is essentially performance marketing for M&A. We have a CRM of 173,000 agencies across the UK, US, Canada, Germany, Australia, New Zealand. When someone wants to buy, we build a list of matches and we market the opportunity that we have to those matches. That's it. That's our secret sauce. It's a list and an outreach engine. We're just doing performance marketing, but with companies instead of customers. Truth number four, build with a buyer in mind, but don't bet the farm on one buyer. This guy I spoke to at the start of the week, he said something really interesting. He sold all three of his agencies to his biggest clients, built in front of the buyer the whole time, and never even really went to market. That's a great outcome, and it's worth thinking about. Building an agency that's strategically obvious to a known buyer is smart, sharpens your positioning, it forces you to deliver work somebody important actually values. It can shortcut the sales process when the time comes, but you will rarely sell to the buyer that you had in mind. When his last agency sold, he had three offers come in within 6 weeks. All three valued the business at roughly the same number, but all three valued it for completely different reasons. None of those reasons were the ones that he'd been optimizing for. And we see this constantly. Clients come to us absolutely convinced that Company X is going to buy them. Company X has been name dropped in every board meeting for 2 years. And we approach Company X. Company X isn't interested. There are a million reasons: wrong timing, wrong vertical, just done a deal, internal politics, new CFO, different strategic priorities this quarter. It doesn't matter, they're out. Meanwhile, three other buyers that nobody had even heard about turn up and want to do a deal. This is not property development. People don't buy you because you're near a school or because you've got off-street parking. Buyers value you for reasons you will never fully predict. So, yes, build with buyers in mind. Yes, sharpen the strategic story, but don't fall in love with one logo on a slide. Build a business with predictable revenue and a defensible market position, and let the buyers decide what they love about it. Truth number five, buyers will buy almost anything. This is the one that surprises people every single time. Buyers will buy agencies in any condition. I mean it. Books a mess, contracts non existent, founder ready to walk, staff all over the place, customer concentration through the roof. We have closed deals on businesses that on paper look like a complete car crash. And honestly, some of the worst businesses on our books have been the most popular. Why? Because buyers see things that sellers don't. A buyer might want your client list, they might want your team, they might want your geographic footprint, they might want a foothold in a vertical, they might just want to take a competitor off the board. Reasons buyers buy are weird and they're personal, and you will never fully predict them. The buyer is not buying perfect, the buyer is buying potential or scarcity or strategic fit or all of the above. There's only one thing buyers will not do: they will not pay stupid multiples for a shit business. That's my only caveat. If you're realistic about price, you will find a buyer. What I cannot stomach and what kills more deals than any other single factor is sellers is sellers thinking they can hoodwink a buyer into paying millions for something that just isn't worth it. Buyers are not stupid. They have advisors, accountants, lawyers, and if they haven't done this before, they will have somebody supplying them with credit that has, and they won't allow them to pay stupid multiples. The minute you push for a number that the business doesn't support, you lose them. So be realistic about price, get the deal done, and move on with your life. Truth six, why most founders want to sell. So this guy that I spoke to this week, he said something that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. He sold his last three businesses because he was bored, not because of the money, not because of the market. He was bored. And he said every agency owner that he speaks to says exactly the same thing. They're bored of the challenge, bored of the fight, bored of the day to day. A few weeks ago, I ran every transcript that we have at Capital A through AI to look for patterns in why founders actually sell. And the answer wasn't what you'd expect. Boredom might be the surface. It's a word founders might reach for first, but underneath the boredom, the reasons are almost always a strategic one. They've taken the business as far as they can on their own. They want to be part of something bigger. They've hit a ceiling on what they can do with the resources that they have. They want a platform that lets them scale beyond what their own balance sheet allows. So when a founder tells me that they're bored, what they're usually telling me is that they're ready for the next chapter and they need a buyer to unlock it. If that's where you are, you can solve some of it without selling. You can bring in a CEO, you can rebuild your role, you can launch a second venture inside the group, you can take 3 months off. But if you genuinely run out of road, if the ceiling is real, if waking up to that business feels like a slow death, then yes, sell and sell properly. Don't half ass it. Don't stay involved for 10 years on an earnout that grinds you into dust. Get out cleanly, take the cash, go and build your next thing. Quick rant before I let you go. There's a pattern that I keep seeing and it does my fucking head in. Agency founder sells their business, cash in the bank, earn out done, 3 years of gardening leave looming, and what do they decide to do next? They get into M&A. They become an advisor, or they launch a course, or they slap helping founders exit on their LinkedIn banner, and they start posting carousels about EBITDA multiples. I genuinely pity these people. What they've done is take a step backwards, possibly two. And the maths doesn't even work. I spoke to this guy recently who runs an agency community for agency founders, coaching events, content, the lot. He'd make more money just building a really good agency. He'd make a lot more money. The coaching economics, even at the top of the market, are pennies compared to operating a real business or putting together a real group. That's the bit that nobody tells you. People will pay for coaching, sure, but the checks are tiny relative to running an actual P&L. So if your skill set is genuinely operating an agency, building one, scaling one, selling one, why the fuck would you swap that for a $99 course and a school community? And before anyone in the comments calls me a hypocrite, I tried this myself. I built a $99 course. I set up a school community. Nobody signed up and I quit while I was ahead. I'm not guessing. I've run the experiment myself. If you still got fight in you, build another agency. If you've got bigger ambitions, build an agency group. Roll up 5, 10, 20 businesses, become the operator, become the buyer, become the chairman. There's a model for that, and it's called Sir Martin Sorrell. And the last time I checked, he wasn't running a fucking Slack community for first time founders. Coaching is a fine business if coaching is your actual edge. But for someone who's just exited an agency, who knows how to do the hard, valuable thing, it's a massive economic downgrade, dressed up as a lifestyle choice, as is M&A advisory. It is not, and I'm telling you this as an M&A advisor, M&A advisory is not as good as building your own roll up of marketing agencies. If you sold your business and you're rich and bored, that's a great problem to have. Go and build the next thing. Don't pivot into telling people how to do the thing you only just stopped doing, especially when you'd earn 10 times more just doing it again. So that's it. That's the honest version of what I do. I find buyers for sellers and sellers for buyers. I do it through a CRM and an outreach engine and 8 years of pattern recognition. I get paid a fee and a percentage of the deal when it closes. The base multiples are 3 to 5. The good ones go to 7. Above 10, you're either at scale or you've got recurring revenue through a SaaS front door. Buyers will buy almost anything if you're realistic about price. Off market is where the value is for buyers, but sellers need multiple buyers at the table. Build with buyers in mind, of course, but don't fall in love with one logo. And most founders sell because they've taken the business as far as they can on their own, even if they call it boredom. That's it. That's the whole thing. Surprisingly simple. If you're thinking about selling your agency, if you're trying to buy one, or you just want to chat about where the market is, drop me a message. I read absolutely everything. And if this was useful, hit subscribe. I'm going to keep telling the truth about this market, whether anyone asks me to or not.